The compound was silent except for the distant sound of generators humming in the Lagos night. Chidinma sat on the concrete steps outside her family's boys' quarters, staring at the main house where yellow light spilled from every window. Inside, her sister Adi's engagement party was reaching its peak. She could hear the laughter, the clinking of glasses, the proud voice of her father telling anyone who would listen about his successful daughter. The lawyer, the one who made something of herself. Chidinma looked down at her phone. 11:47 p.m. The screen was cracked in 3 places, held together with transparent tape that had yellowed with age. She had 37 naira in her account. 37 naira, and she was 28 years old. The door to the boys' quarters creaked behind her. She didn't need to turn around to know it was her mother. Chidinma. Her mother's voice was tired, worn thin like old fabric. "Why are you sitting here in the dark like a ghost?" "I'm fine, Mama." "You're not fine." Her mother sat down beside her, her wrapper rustling in the humid air. The smell of fried plantain and jollof rice from the party clung to her clothes. "Your sister has been asking for you. She wants you inside." Chidinma laughed bitterly. "Does she? Or did you tell her to ask for me?" Her mother was quiet for a moment. In the distance, a night bird called out, sharp and mournful. "What happened to you, Chidinma?" her mother asked finally, her voice so soft it was almost a whisper. "You were so bright, so full of dreams. Your teachers said you would be great." "They said. They were wrong, Mama." Chidinma's throat tightened. "Everyone was wrong." "No, you gave up. That's what happened. You gave up on yourself." The words hit like a slap. Chidinma turned to face her mother, and in the dim light from the main house, she could see tears glistening on her mother's cheeks. "Gave up?" Chidinma's voice cracked. "Mama, I tried. I tried everything. I finished university with good grades. I applied to every company in Lagos. I went for interviews where they looked at me like I was nothing. I took exam after exam for jobs I never got. I borrowed money I couldn't pay back. Her voice broke completely. "I tried, Mama, and I failed. Over and over and over again, I failed." Her mother reached out and touched her face, her palm rough and warm. "Then try again." "No." Chidinma stood up abruptly, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "I'm done trying. I'm done being the family disgrace. I'm done hearing Uncle Emeka ask when I'll finally do something with my life. I'm done watching Papa look away when people ask about me. I'm done, Mama." "So what will you do? Sit here and rot?" The cruelty of the question, the truth of it, made Chidinma's chest hurt. She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. Because she didn't have an answer. She had nothing. No plan. No hope. No future. "I thought so," her mother said quietly, standing up with effort, her knees cracking. "Come inside when you're ready. Your sister loves you, even if you don't believe it. We all love you, Chidinma, even when you make it very, very hard." She walked back into the boys' quarters, leaving Chidinma alone with the night and the sound of celebration she wasn't part of. 3 weeks later, Chidinma stood in line at First Bank on Awolowo Road, sweating in the afternoon heat. The air conditioning was barely working, and the queue hadn't moved in 20 minutes. In her hand was a folded envelope containing a check for 50,000 naira, money her aunt had given her for her birthday last year, money she'd been too proud to cash until now. 50,000 naira, her last lifeline. The woman in front of her was arguing with the teller about a failed transaction. Her voice was getting louder, sharper. People were starting to stare. Chidinma closed her eyes and tried to breathe slowly. In through her nose, out through her mouth, just like the YouTube video on anxiety had taught her. But the breathing didn't help. Nothing helped anymore. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out and saw a message from her younger brother, Obinna. "Dad is asking if you found work yet. What should I tell him?" Chidinma's fingers hovered over the keyboard. What could she say? That she'd stopped looking? That every rejection email had carved a piece out of her until there was almost nothing left? That she woke up every morning with a weight on her chest so heavy she could barely breathe? She typed, "Tell him I'm working on it." It was a lie, but it was a kinder lie than the truth. The queue finally moved. Chidinma cashed her check, took the crisp notes, and walked out into the blazing sun. The streets of Lagos were chaos as always, Danfo buses honking, hawkers shouting, the smell of suya and exhaust fumes mixing in the thick air. She walked without direction, her mind empty, her feet carrying her through streets she'd known her whole life. She ended up at Bar Beach, though the beach had been gone for years now, replaced by the Eco-Atlantic project. Those gleaming towers rising from reclaimed land, monuments to progress and money, and everything Chidinma wasn't. She sat on a low wall and watched the ocean. The water was gray-brown, churning restlessly. A group of children played nearby, their laughter high and pure. "Excuse me, sister." Chidinma looked up. A young woman stood in front of her, maybe 21 or 22, with short natural hair and bright, determined eyes. She wore jeans and a simple t-shirt that said code like a girl. "Yes, sorry to bother you, but you look like someone who's thinking very deep thoughts." The woman smiled, and there was something warm and genuine in it. "I'm Ngozi. I'm doing a project for my final year at Unilag, interviewing Lagos women about their stories. Would you be willing to talk to me for a few minutes?" "I don't have a story," Chidinma said automatically. "Everyone has a story." Ngozi sat down beside her without waiting for permission. She pulled out a battered notebook and a pen. "Tell me, what's the hardest thing you've ever had to do?" Chidinma stared at her. "Why would you want to know that?" "Because hard things are interesting. Because struggle is interesting. Because..." Ngozi paused, tilting her head. "Because I think the stories we don't tell are the ones that matter most." Something in Chidinma cracked. Maybe it was the heat. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was just that this stranger had kind eyes and seemed genuinely interested in her answer. "The hardest thing I've ever had to do," Chidinma heard herself saying, "is wake up every morning and pretend I'm okay when I'm not. Pretend I have a future when I don't. Pretend I'm not drowning when I can barely keep my head above water." Ngozi stopped writing. She looked at Chidinma with an expression Chidinma couldn't quite read. Something between sadness and understanding. "How long have you been drowning?" 7 years. The answer came out before Chidinma could stop it. 7 years since I graduated. 7 years of failing at everything. 7 years of being the disappointment. The one who couldn't make it. The one people whisper about at family gatherings. "What did you study?" "Business administration." "And what did you want to do with it?" No one had asked her that in so long that Chidinma had almost forgotten the answer. But now, sitting by this gray ocean with this stranger, the memory came back sharp and painful. "I wanted to start my own company," she whispered. "I wanted to create something that mattered. I had this idea, this whole plan for an app that would connect small-scale farmers directly with urban buyers, cut out the middlemen, make food cheaper and farmers' lives better. I did all the research. I wrote a whole business plan." Her voice caught. "But I couldn't get funding. I couldn't even get people to take me seriously. And after a while, I stopped believing in it myself." Ngozi was writing furiously now, her pen flying across the page. "That's a good idea," she said without looking up. "Really good. Why did you stop?" "Because dreams don't pay rent. Because my family needed me to get a real job. Because I was tired of being a failure." "Are you still tired?" The question hung in the air between them. Chidinma looked out at the ocean, at those restless waves that never stopped moving, never stopped trying to reach the shore. "Yes," she admitted. "I'm so tired, Ngozi. I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of hoping. I'm tired of being myself." Ngozi closed her notebook. She turned to face Chidinma fully, her expression serious now. "Can I tell you something? My mother died when I was 15. Cancer. She was a trader at Balagan Market, selling fabrics. She never finished secondary school, never had money, never had anything the world would call success. But you know what she told me before she died? She said, 'Ngozi, the world will try to make you small. It will try to convince you that you're not enough, that your dreams are too big, that you should just accept whatever little piece it offers you. Don't listen. Don't you dare listen.'" Tears were sliding down Chidinma's cheeks now, hot and fast. "I've been listening," she said. "I've been listening for 7 years. Then stop." Ngozi reached out and squeezed her hand. "Stop listening to them and start listening to yourself. That app you wanted to create it. That company you wanted to start it. Use that anger, that pain, that feeling of being nothing. Use it all as fuel. I don't know how. Neither did my mother. Neither do I. Nobody knows how until they do it." Ngozi stood up, brushing sand from her jeans. "But I'll tell you what, if you decide you want to try again, really try, I know people who can help. I know developers, I know business mentors. I know people who've been where you are and came out the other side. You don't have to do it alone." She pulled out her phone. "Give me your number. Think about what I said. And if you decide you're ready to stop drowning and start swimming, call me." Chidinma gave her the number with shaking hands. Ngozi saved it, then looked at her one more time. "What's your name? I can't believe I interviewed you without getting your name." "Chidinma. Chidinma Okafor." "Chidinma." Ngozi smiled. "That's a powerful name. Do Do you know what it means? God is good. Exactly. So maybe it's time you started believing that God is good enough to give you a second chance. Or a seventh chance. However many chances you need. She walked away, her sneakers crunching on the sand and broken shells, leaving Chidinma alone with the ocean and a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. Something small and fragile, but unmistakable. Hope. That night, Chidinma couldn't sleep. She lay in her small room in the boys' quarters, staring at the ceiling where a gecko hunted mosquitoes in the darkness. From the main house, she could hear her father's television, the late-night news, talking about elections and oil prices, and things that felt very far away from her life. She thought about what Ngozi had said. She thought about her app idea, buried in a folder on her old laptop, untouched for 6 years. She thought about the person she used to be, the girl who believed she could change the world, and the woman she'd become, bitter, defeated, hollow. When did it happen? When did she stop fighting? Her phone lit up on the floor beside her mattress. A message from an unknown number. Hi Chidinma, it's Ngozi. I couldn't sleep. Keep thinking about our conversation. I meant what I said. If you're ready to try again, I'm ready to help. No judgment. No pressure. Just possibility. Think about it. Chidinma picked up the phone and stared at the message for a long time. Her thumb hovered over the keyboard. What did she have to lose? What was left to lose when you'd already lost everything? She typed slowly. What would I need to do? The response came almost immediately. First, just decide. Decide that you're worth fighting for. Decide that your dreams matter. Decide that failure isn't the end of your story, it's just a chapter. Can you do that? Chidinma's hands were trembling. She could hear her own heartbeat, loud in the quiet room. Outside, a dog barked. A car passed. Life continued, indifferent to whether she chose to live or merely exist. I don't know if I can, she typed honestly. Then decide to try deciding. Start there. Baby steps, Chidinma. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither are dreams. Get some sleep. Tomorrow is a new day. And the day after that is another new day. You have more new days ahead of you than you think. Chidinma set the phone down. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in 7 years, she let herself imagine what it would feel like to try again. To fail again, probably. But maybe, just maybe, to succeed. The next morning, Chidinma woke up to shouting. She jolted upright, her heart pounding. The sun was barely up, painting the sky a pale orange. The shouting was coming from the main house, her father's voice, angry and sharp, and her mother's voice trying to calm him down. Chidinma pulled on her wrapper and ran outside. Her younger sister, Amara, was standing in the corridor looking frightened. What's happening? Chidinma asked. It's Adiz, Amara whispered. The wedding is off. What? Her fiancé called off the engagement. He said. Amara's voice dropped even lower. He said he found out she was seeing someone else. He's demanding all the money back. All the bride price, all the gifts, everything. Papa is going mad. Chidinma's stomach dropped. She walked slowly toward the living room where the shouting was coming from. Through the doorway, she could see her father pacing back and forth, his face twisted with rage and shame. Her mother sat on the sofa, her face in her hands. And Adiz, perfect, successful Adiz, was standing in the corner in her nightgown, tears streaming down her face, looking smaller than Chidinma had ever seen her. How could you do this? Their father was shouting. How could you shame us like this? After everything we've given you, after everything we've sacrificed. Papa, please, Adiz's voice was broken. I didn't mean. You didn't mean? You didn't mean to destroy your future? To destroy this family's reputation? Everyone will know. Everyone will talk. How will we show our faces? Chidinma felt frozen. Part of her, a dark, wounded part, felt a flash of satisfaction. Adiz, the golden child, had fallen. Adiz, who never made mistakes, who never disappointed anyone, had finally crashed to earth. But looking at her sister's face, seeing the raw pain there, Chidinma felt that satisfaction curdle into something else. Shame, pity, recognition. Because she knew that look. She'd worn it herself for 7 years. Papa, Chidinma heard herself say, stepping into the room. Please stop shouting. Everyone turned to look at her. Her father's eyes were wild. You stay out of this. This is not your business. She's my sister. That makes it my business. Your sister? Your perfect sister who actually made something of herself? And now look what she's done. At least you. He stopped abruptly, but the words hung in the air, unspoken but understood. At least you never had anything to lose. At least I what, Papa? Chidinma's voice was steady, though her heart was racing. At least I never disappointed you because you already expected nothing from me? Her father's face went red. How dare you? Let her speak, her mother said quietly. It was barely a whisper, but something in her tone made everyone stop. Chidinma looked at Adiz, whose eyes were puffy and red, whose perfect life had just shattered into pieces. Adiz, Chidinma said softly, are you okay? It was such a simple question, but Adiz's face crumpled completely. She sank to the floor, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. And before she could think about it, Chidinma was crossing the room, kneeling beside her sister, pulling her into her arms. I'm sorry, Adiz gasped between sobs. I'm so sorry. I ruined everything. I'm such a failure. You're not a failure, Chidinma said firmly, surprising herself. You made a mistake. That's different. But everyone will know. Everyone will judge me. I can't face them. So don't face them. Not yet. Not until you're ready. Chidinma held her sister tighter. And when you are ready, you face them with your head up. Because you're more than this one mistake, Adiz. You're more than what people say about you. She was saying the words to her sister, but she was also saying them to herself. She was finally understanding them. Their father had stopped pacing. He stood there, staring at his two daughters on the floor. The successful one and the failure, both broken, both human. What am I supposed to tell people? He said, but his voice had lost its edge. He just sounded tired now. Old. Tell them the truth, their mother said, standing up. Tell them the wedding is postponed. Tell them to mind their own business. Tell them whatever you want. But right now, our daughter needs us. Both our daughters need us. She looked at Chidinma when she said it, and something passed between them. An understanding, an acknowledgement of all the years of disappointment and pain. Chidinma helped Adiz to her feet. Come on, she said gently. Let's get you cleaned up. Let's just take it one moment at a time. As she led her sister out of the room, Amara followed, and their mother followed, and they left their father standing alone in the living room with his anger and his shame. In the bathroom, as Adiz washed her face, she looked at Chidinma in the mirror. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For not saying I told you so. For not being happy that I fell. Chidinma felt her throat tighten. I thought I would be. For a second, I thought I would be happy. But I'm not. Because I know what it feels like to fall. And I know how much it hurts. Adiz turned around, water dripping from her face. I'm sorry, Didi. I'm sorry for all the times I made you feel small. All the times I was too busy being perfect to see that you were struggling. I'm so sorry. They were both crying now. And somehow, in this moment of shared brokenness, they were closer than they'd been in years. We're going to be okay, Chidinma said, though she wasn't sure she believed it. Somehow, we're going to be okay. But as she said it, she thought about Ngozi's message from last night. About deciding to try. About choosing to believe in possibility. And she thought, maybe this is where it starts. Not with success. Not with certainty. But with this, with choosing to stand up after falling. With choosing to try again, even when every part of you is screaming to stay down. 3 days passed like a fever dream. Adiz stayed in her room, refusing to come out except to use the bathroom. Their mother brought her food that mostly went uneaten. Their father disappeared into his study, emerging only to bark orders at no one in particular. The compound, usually filled with the noise of daily life, felt like a tomb. Chidinma found herself in an unfamiliar position, the strong one. She fielded phone calls from concerned relatives, lying smoothly about why the wedding was postponed. She sent Amara to the market when their mother forgot. She kept the household moving when everyone else had stopped. And late at night, when everyone was asleep, she opened her old laptop. The folder was still there. AgriConnect business plan. She'd created it 6 years ago with such hope, such certainty that this idea would change everything. Now looking at the files with their optimistic names, market analysis, financial projections, app mock-ups, she felt something twist in her chest. Embarrassment, yes, but also something else. Something that felt almost like recognition, like seeing an old friend you'd abandoned. Her phone buzzed. Ngozi, how are you? Been thinking about you. Chidinma stared at the message for a long moment before typing. My sister's engagement fell apart. The house is chaos. I'm sorry. Are you okay? I think so. It's strange. For years, I was the broken one. Now she is. And I'm not happy about it. I thought I would be. That's called empathy. It means you're still human, even after everything tried to convince you otherwise. Ngozi, That business idea I told you about. I opened the files tonight. First time in 6 years. And I don't know. I don't know if it's still good. I don't know if I'm still capable. I don't know anything except that looking at it doesn't hurt as much as I thought it would. That's a start. Want to meet tomorrow? I have someone I want you to talk to. Chidinma's first instinct was to refuse. To make an excuse. To stay safe in her cocoon of defeat. But then she thought about Adiz, sobbing on the bathroom floor. About the look in her sister's eyes when Chidinma had chosen kindness over satisfaction. Okay. Where? Jazzhole Yaba. 2 p.m. I promise you won't regret it. Chidinma wasn't sure she believed that. But she typed, I'll be there. The next morning, Chidinma knocked on Adiz's door. Go away, came the muffled response. It's me, Didi. Silence. Then, come in. Adiz's room smelled stale, unwashed bodies and old tears. The curtains were drawn, and Adiz was buried under her blankets, only her eyes visible in the darkness. You need to shower, Chidinma said gently, sitting on the edge of the bed. Why? So I can be clean when I die of shame. You're not going to die of shame. Trust me, I've been dying of shame for 7 years. It's not fatal, just painful. A small, bitter laugh escaped from under the blankets. How did you do it? How did you survive everyone looking at you like you were nothing? Chidinma took a deep breath. Honestly, I didn't survive it well. I let it destroy me. I let it convince me that I was nothing. I'm still trying to climb out of that hole. She paused. But you know what I learned? Their opinions, Papa's disappointment, Uncle Emeka's judgment, the neighbors' whispers, they can only destroy you if you let them. If you believe them more than you believe in yourself. But what if they're right? What if I am a failure? What if? Adiz. Chidinma pulled the blanket down so she could see her sister's face. It was puffy and red, but still beautiful. You made a mistake. You hurt someone. That's real, and it's serious. But it doesn't make you worthless. It makes you human. I loved him, you know, Adiz whispered. Chukwudi. I really loved him. But I also loved Tabena. And I couldn't choose, and I thought I could just. Her voice broke. I'm a terrible person. You're not terrible. You're confused. And scared. And maybe a little selfish. But terrible? No. Chidinma squeezed her sister's hand. What happened with Tabena? Adiz was quiet for so long that Chidinma thought she wouldn't answer. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he found out about the engagement. He was furious. He said if I went through with the wedding, he would tell Chukwudi everything. I thought he was bluffing. But she started crying again. He sent Chukwudi photos. Of us. Together. Oh, Adiz. I know it's my fault. I should have broken it off with Tabena. I should have been honest. But I was scared. Chukwidi's family is wealthy, connected. Marriage to him was supposed to secure everything. My career, my future, Papa's business connections. But Tabena, she looked at Chidinma with anguish in her eyes. Tabena made me feel alive in a way Chukwudi never did. With Chukwudi, everything was about appearances. About being the perfect couple. With Tabena, I could just be. Then why didn't you choose Tabena? Because he's a struggling artist. Because Papa would never approve. Because choosing him would mean choosing uncertainty. And I'm not brave like that. I'm not brave like you. Chidinma almost laughed. Me? Brave? Yes. You've been failing publicly for years, and you kept going. You kept showing up to family gatherings, even when everyone whispered about you. You kept trying even when nothing worked. That's courage, Didi. I could never do that. That's why I chose the safe path. And look where it got me. They sat together in the darkness, two sisters who'd spent years misunderstanding each other, finally seeing clearly. Adiz, Chidinma said slowly, what do you want? Not what Papa wants. Not what's safe. What do you actually want? Adiz closed her eyes. Tears leaked from the corners. I want to matter. I want to do work that means something. I want to love someone who loves the real me, not the perfect version I pretend to be. She opened her eyes. I want what you wanted 6 years ago. I want to believe in something enough to risk everything for it. Then maybe this isn't an ending, Chidinma heard herself say. Maybe it's a beginning. A painful, humiliating, terrifying beginning. But a beginning nonetheless. How can you say that? Everything is ruined. Everything was already ruined. You were just pretending it wasn't. Now you don't have to pretend anymore. Now you can build something real. Adiz stared at her. When did you become wise? I didn't. I'm just as lost as you are. But I'm meeting someone today. Someone who might help me figure out how to try again. Maybe Chidinma hesitated. Maybe you could come with me. I can't go outside. I can't face people. It's just a cafe in Yaba. And you don't have to face anyone except yourself. Adiz was silent, considering. Then, so quietly Chidinma almost missed it. Okay. Jazzhole was crowded when they arrived. The smell of coffee and cigarette smoke hung in the air, mixing with the sound of indie music and conversation. Chidinma spotted Ngozi immediately. She was sitting at a corner table with a man in his 30s, dressed simply in jeans and a black shirt. Chidinma. Ngozi stood up, beaming. Then she noticed Adiz. Oh, you brought your sister? I hope that's okay. We're both kind of in the same boat right now. More than okay. Ngozi gestured to the chairs. This is Ikenna. Ikenna, meet Chidinma and Adiz said quietly, sitting down. She was wearing dark sunglasses even though they were indoors, and she kept her head down. Ikenna smiled warmly. Good to meet you both. Ngozi told me about you, Chidinma. About your app idea. It's probably stupid, Chidinma said automatically, then stopped herself. Sorry. Old habit. It's an app that connects small farmers directly with urban buyers. That's not stupid at all. In fact, I know at least 3 startups trying to solve similar problems. The agricultural supply chain in Nigeria is broken, and someone needs to fix it. He leaned forward. Tell me more. What makes your solution different? And just like that, Chidinma was talking. Really talking, for the first time in years, about her idea. About the research she'd done. About the interviews with farmers in Enugu State who were getting cheated by middlemen. About the urban families in Lagos who wanted fresh, affordable produce but couldn't access it. About the app interface she'd designed, simple enough for farmers with basic phones to use. The words poured out of her, and with each sentence, she felt something loosening in her chest. She'd forgotten this feeling, the feeling of being excited about something, of believing in something. Ikenna listened intently, occasionally asking questions that made her think deeper. Beside her, Adiz had taken off her sunglasses and was listening too, her eyes bright with interest. Here's my honest assessment, Ikenna said when Chidinma finally finished. The idea is solid. The market is there. The problem is real. But, he paused. You're 6 years behind where you could have been. The technology has evolved. The market has changed. Your competitors have a head start. Chidinma felt her excitement deflate like a punctured balloon. So it's too late. I didn't say that. I said you're behind. That's different from impossible. Ikenna pulled out his phone and showed her a news article. This startup, FarmDirect, just raised $5 million. They're doing something similar to what you described. They launched 2 years ago, and they're crushing it. So what's the point then? If they're already doing it, they're doing it for middle-class consumers. High-end organic produce. But what about the millions of Nigerians who can't afford organic prices? What about the farmers who can't meet the strict quality standards these startups require? There's still a gap. A huge gap. And if you're smart about it, you can fill that gap. Chidinma felt her heart start to race. How? First, you need to update your research. Understand what's changed in 6 years. Second, you need to build a minimum viable product, not the perfect app, just something that works. Third, you need to test it. Find 10 farmers and 10 buyers, and prove that it works on a small scale. Then, and only then, you worry about scaling. I don't have money to build an app. You don't need much. Not at first. Ikenna looked at Ngozi. How many computer science students do you know who need projects? Dozens, Ngozi said, grinning. I can get you a team by next week. But I can't pay them. You can offer them equity. Offer them the chance to build something real for their portfolios. Offer them purpose. Ikenna's expression turned serious. Look, Chidinma, I'm going to be honest with you. Most startups fail. Most ideas don't work out. The chances that you'll build the next big thing are slim. But you know what? The chances that you'll learn valuable skills, meet important people, and discover what you're truly capable of, those chances are pretty damn good. He turned to Adiz. What about you? What do you do? Adiz looked startled, as if she'd forgotten she was part of the conversation. I'm a corporate lawyer. Good. Every startup needs legal help. You interested? I don't know anything about startups. Neither does your sister. Neither did I when I started. But I learned. And so can you. He stood up, pulling out his wallet. Think about it, both of you. I'm leading a workshop next week on startup basics. It's free. If you're serious about this, come. If not, no hard feelings. He left money on the table for the coffee and handed Ngozi a business card. "Give them my number. And Chidinma, stop apologizing for your dreams. They're not stupid. You're just scared. And scared is okay, as long as you don't let it stop you." He walked out, leaving the three women sitting in stunned silence. Finally, Adiz spoke. "Did that just happen?" "I think so," Chidinma said. Her hands were shaking. The old laptop with her files was in her bag, the business plan from 6 years ago. And suddenly, impossibly, it felt like maybe, just maybe, those files weren't relics of a dead dream. Maybe they were seeds waiting to be replanted. "Didi," Adiz said quietly, "I want to help. If you do this, I want to be part of it." "Why?" "Because I need something to care about that's bigger than my ruined reputation. Because watching you talk about this app, I saw something in your face I haven't seen in years. Hope. And I want to feel that too." Ngozi was practically bouncing in her seat. "This is happening. This is actually happening. Okay, we need a plan. We need to. Wait." Chidinma held up her hand. Her heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. "I need to say something first. I'm terrified. I'm terrified that I'll try and fail again. I'm terrified that I'll let everyone down. I'm terrified that—" "Fear means you care," Ngozi interrupted gently. "Fear means it matters. So be afraid. Just don't let fear make your decisions for you." Chidinma looked at her sister. At this woman who'd always seemed so perfect, so untouchable, now sitting here with red-rimmed eyes and a broken engagement and a desperate need for purpose. "Okay," Chidinma said. "Okay, let's try." They didn't go home right away. Instead, Ngozi took them to a small tech hub in Yaba, a converted warehouse filled with young people hunched over laptops, whiteboard walls covered in diagrams and code, the air electric with ambition and caffeine. "This is where I work sometimes," Ngozi explained. "Community space for developers, designers, entrepreneurs. 20,000 naira a month for a desk. Or free if you just want to use the common area." Chidinma looked around with wonder. In all her years of job hunting, she'd never thought to look for a place like this. She'd been so focused on finding traditional employment that she'd never considered that there might be other paths, other possibilities. "Ngozi," a young man with locks called out from across the room. "You finally brought fresh blood." "Shut up, Kachi. These are my friends, Chidinma and Adiz. They're starting something." "Starting what?" Before Chidinma could downplay it, Ngozi answered, "AgriConnect. An app connecting small farmers with urban buyers. Focus on affordability and accessibility." "Solid. We need more agritech in Nigeria. Talk to Ife. She did her thesis on supply chain optimization." Kachi pointed to a woman in the corner wearing headphones. "And Emeka, the tall guy by the window, he's been trying to build something similar but couldn't crack the farmer onboarding problem." "Wait," Chidinma said. "There's someone here working on the same thing?" "Similar thing. But in tech, that's good. Means validation. Means the market is real." Kachi grinned. "Welcome to the ecosystem. It's chaos, but it's beautiful chaos." They spent the next 2 hours there. Ngozi introduced them to what felt like dozens of people, developers, designers, other entrepreneurs at various stages of their journeys. Some had raised funding. Some were still building prototypes. Some had failed and were starting over. One woman, Amaka, told them about her food delivery startup that had collapsed after 18 months. "I lost everything," she said matter-of-factly. "My savings, my investors' money, my dignity. But you know what I learned? Failure isn't fatal. It's just expensive education." She was now working on a new idea, something about digital payments for market traders. "Second time around, I'm smarter, leaner, more realistic, but also more confident because I know I can survive the worst-case scenario." As they finally left the hub, the sun was setting, painting Lagos in shades of orange and purple. The evening heat was thick and heavy, and the streets were chaos as always, but somehow it all felt different to Chidinma. Less overwhelming, more alive with possibility. "Thank you," she said to Ngozi. "For today. For all of this. Don't thank me yet. The hard part hasn't started." Ngozi smiled. "But when it does, you'll have people in your corner. Remember that." On the Danfo ride home, squeezed between Adiz and a woman selling pure water, Chidinma felt her phone buzz. A message from her mother. "Where are you? Your father wants to talk to both of you." Adiz saw it too. The color drained from her face. I can't face him." "Yes, you can," Chidinma said firmly. "Because we're not going back as the same people who left. We're going back with a plan. with hope, with something to fight for. What if he's angry? Then let him be angry. His anger can't hurt us unless we let it. Even as she said it, Chidinma wasn't sure she believed her own words. But she was trying to believe them, and maybe that was enough. They walked through the compound gates as darkness fell. The security guard, Musa, gave them a knowing look. "Your papa has been asking for you. He's in the sitting room." "Thank you, Musa," Chidinma said. She squeezed Adi's hand. Together? Together. They found their father exactly where Musa said he'd be, sitting in his favorite chair, the television off for once. Their mother was there too, perched on the edge of the sofa, her hands knotted together. Amara and Obinna were conspicuously absent. "Sit down," their father said. His voice was controlled, which somehow made it more frightening than when he shouted. They sat. For a long moment, he just looked at them. Then, Chikwuti's family is demanding 2 million naira. The bride price, the gifts, the party costs. Everything. Adiz made a small sound of distress. "We don't have 2 million naira, he continued. "Not liquid. I would have to sell things. Take loans. And for what? So you could chase after some useless artist?" "Papa," Adiz started, but he held up his hand. "I'm not finished. For 28 years, I invested in you. Best schools. Best clothes. Best connections. I thought I was raising a daughter who would elevate this family. Instead," he shook his head bitterly. "Instead, you've brought us shame." The words landed like blows. Chidinma felt Adiz shrinking beside her. "And you," their father turned to Chidinma. "You've been a disappointment for so long I barely notice it anymore. But today, your mother tells me you left the house. With your sister. And you came back after dark. Where were you?" It was the moment. The moment to make herself small, to apologize, to accept his judgment. Chidinma had lived in that moment for 7 years. But something had changed. Maybe it was the taste of possibility she'd felt at Jazzhole. Maybe it was seeing all those people at the tech hub who'd failed and tried again. Maybe it was simply that she'd spent so long at the bottom that she had nothing left to lose. "We were in Yaba," she said, her voice steady. "Meeting people who are helping me restart my business idea." Her father's eyebrows shot up. "Business idea? You have a business idea?" "I've had one for 6 years. You never asked." The shock on his face would have been funny if the moment weren't so tense. "Papa," Chidinma continued, "I know I've been a disappointment. I know I've failed at everything I've tried. But I'm going to try again. I'm going to build something. And this time, I'm not asking for your permission or your approval. I'm just letting you know. With what money? With what connections? You have nothing. I know. But I'm going to start with nothing and see where it leads." She felt a strange calm settling over her. "And Adiz is going to help me." Their father turned to Adiz, incredulous. You're going to throw away your law career to help your sister with some fantasy business?" "It's not a fantasy," Adiz said quietly, finding her voice. "It's a real solution to a real problem. And maybe it won't work. Maybe we'll fail. But at least we'll fail doing something that matters, instead of succeeding at being someone we're not. This is madness. Both of you have lost your minds." "Maybe," Chidinma said. "Or maybe we finally found them." Their mother had been silent through all of this, but now she spoke. "Namdi, let them try." Their father whipped his head toward her. "What? Let them try? What's the worst that can happen? They fail. They've already failed. Chidinma has been failing for years, and now Adiz has failed spectacularly. At least this time, they'll fail while actually trying to build something instead of trying to meet everyone else's expectations." "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious." Their mother stood up, and there was a strength in her posture that Chidinma had never seen before. "I have watched you destroy our daughter's spirit for 7 years with your disappointment. I have watched Adiz turn herself into a pretzel, trying to be perfect for you. I'm done watching. If they want to try something new, I will support them." "With what?" "We don't have money to give them for business ventures." "Then they'll start without money. People do it every day." The room fell silent. Chidinma could hear her own heartbeat, could feel Adiz's hand gripping hers so tightly it hurt. Their father looked at them all, his wife standing defiant, his daughters holding each other, his whole world shifting in ways he couldn't control. "Fine," he said finally, his voice cold. "Try. Fail. But don't come crying to me when it all falls apart. Don't expect me to save you. You want to do this without my approval? Then do it without my help too." He stood up and walked out, his footsteps heavy on the tile floor. They heard his study door slam. Their mother sagged back onto the sofa, suddenly looking exhausted. But when she looked at her daughters, she was smiling, a small, sad, proud smile. "He'll come around," she said. "Eventually. But even if he doesn't, you're doing the right thing." "Mama," Chidinma whispered, "what if we fail?" "Then you'll fail knowing you tried. That's more than most people can say." She reached out and took both their hands. "Your grandmother, my mother, she used to say, 'The bird who is too afraid to fly will never know if it has wings.' You have wings, my daughters. It's time to find out if you can fly." That night, Chidinma couldn't sleep again. But this time, it wasn't because of despair. It was because her mind was racing with possibilities, with plans, with a dangerous, terrifying thing called hope. She opened her laptop and stared at those old files. AgriConnect. 6 years ago, she'd built this dream with nothing but optimism and ignorance. Now she would rebuild it with experience, with failure, with a sister by her side and a community backing her up. It wouldn't be easy. It probably wouldn't even work. But she was going to try. Her phone lit up. A message from Ikena. "Ngozi told me you're in." "Good. Workshop is next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Bring your laptop and your questions. And Chidinma, welcome to the hardest, scariest, most rewarding thing you'll ever do." Chidinma smiled in the darkness. Then she opened a new document and started typing. AgriConnect 2.0, rebuilding from the ground up. The cursor blinked. Waiting. Ready. And for the first time in 7 years, so was she. The workshop came faster than Chidinma expected. Tuesday evening found her and Adiz standing outside a small office building in Yaba, both clutching their laptops like lifelines. "We don't have to do this," Adiz said for the third time. "Yes, we do." Chidinma pushed open the door. Inside, about 20 people were gathered, mostly young, mostly nervous-looking, all holding laptops or notebooks. Ikena stood at the front beside a whiteboard, writing something. When he saw them, he smiled. "You came. Good. Find seats. We're about to start." For the next 2 hours, Ikena talked about startups in a way that made them feel both possible and terrifying. He talked about market research, minimum viable products, user testing. He talked about failure rates and pivoting and the importance of solving real problems, not imaginary ones. "Most of you will fail," he said bluntly. "Not because your ideas are bad, but because building a business is hard. It requires sacrifice, resilience, and a willingness to be wrong over and over again until you figure out how to be right." He clicked to a new slide. It showed a graph of his own startup journey. 3 failed companies before 1 success. Each failure taught me something. The first taught me about market timing. The second taught me about team dynamics. The third taught me about cash flow management. And the fourth, the one that finally worked, taught me that success isn't about being the smartest or the most talented. It's about being the most persistent. After the workshop, several people approached Ikena with questions. Chidinma hung back, suddenly feeling the weight of what she was attempting. Could she really do this? Could she really turn her old dream into reality? "Chidinma Okafor?" She turned. A tall man in his 50s stood behind her, well dressed in traditional attire. Something about him seemed familiar, but she couldn't place it. "Yes, I'm Chief Okonkwo. I was sitting in the back. I heard you mention AgriConnect when you introduced yourself." "Oh, yes. It's just an idea right now. Ideas become reality when the right people work on them." He handed her a business card. "I run a cooperative of farmers in an Amber state. Over 2,000 members. We've been looking for better ways to connect with buyers in Lagos. If you're serious about building this, call me. Let's talk." Chidinma stared at the card, her hands shaking. You want to work with us? I want to see if what you're building can help my farmers. That's not the same as working together yet. But it's a start." He smiled kindly. "You remind me of my daughter. She had big dreams too. Died in a car accident 5 years ago, before she could see them through. I've been looking for young people with her kind of fire ever since, to help them the way I couldn't help her." He walked away before Chidinma could respond, leaving her standing there with tears in her eyes and hope burning in her chest like a flame she'd thought was long extinguished. The next 2 weeks were a blur. Chidinma and Adiz threw themselves into the work. They woke early and stayed up late, researching competitors, refining their business model, reaching out to potential users. Ngozi introduced them to a team of computer science students who agreed to build the initial app in exchange for equity and portfolio pieces. The lead developer, a sharp-eyed woman named Ifeoma, was brutally honest. "Your original interface design is outdated. We need to rebuild it from scratch. And this feature, the automated pricing algorithm, It's too complex for a first version. We need to simplify. But that was the core innovation, Chidinma protested. Innovation means nothing if users can't understand it. Start simple. Add complexity later. Ifeoma pulled up her laptop. Look, I believe in what you're building. But I also believe in building things that actually work. Trust me on this. Slowly, painfully, Chidinma learned to let go of her original vision and embrace something better. It was humbling. It was frustrating. But it was also exhilarating. Adiz threw herself into the legal and administrative work, registering the company, drafting contracts, handling the paperwork that made Chidinma's head spin. She worked with an intensity that bordered on obsession, as if she could outrun her scandal by drowning herself in productivity. You need to sleep, Chidinma told her one night, finding her sister at 2 a.m. still reviewing documents. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see Chikwuti's face when he found out. The anger, the betrayal. Or worse, I see Tabena, and I wonder if I made a mistake choosing this over him. Did you talk to him? Tabena? He's been calling. I haven't answered. Adiz looked up, her eyes red and exhausted. What would I say? Sorry I used you as an escape from my perfect life that wasn't really perfect. Sorry I'm a coward who couldn't choose you when it mattered. You could start with I'm sorry and see where it goes. I can't. Not yet. Not until I figure out who I actually am without someone else defining me. She went back to her documents. This startup, it's the first thing that's really mine. Not Papa's plan. Not Chikwuti's expectation. Not Tabena's fantasy of who I could be. Mine. And I'm terrified of failing at it. Then we'll be terrified together. They worked through the night. But not everything was going well. The compound had become tense. Their father barely spoke to them, and when he did, his words were sharp with disappointment. Obinna, caught in the middle, tried to mediate but made things worse. Uncle Emeka visited and made snide comments about modern women with their foolish ideas. And then 3 weeks after they started, the real crisis hit. Chidinma came home one evening to find her mother crying in the kitchen. Mama, what's wrong? It's your father's business. The container from China, it was seized at the port. He needs to pay 1.8 million naira in duties and fines, or he loses everything. Her mother's hands were shaking. We don't have it. After all the money we spent on Adiz's engagement, after the loans he took, we don't have it. Chidinma felt her stomach drop. When does he need it by? 2 weeks. Otherwise, they auction off the goods. That night, there was a family meeting. Their father sat at the head of the table, looking older than Chidinma had ever seen him. Defeated. We'll have to sell the land in the village, he said quietly. My father's land. The only thing I have left of him. How much would that bring? Their mother asked. Maybe 1.5 million. If we're lucky. If we find a buyer quickly. He looked around the table at his children. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't provide better. I'm sorry his voice broke. Chidinma had spent 7 years resenting her father. Resenting his disappointment, his judgment, his inability to see her value. But seeing him now, broken and vulnerable, she felt something shift inside her. Papa, she said quietly. Don't sell the land. Not yet. He looked at her with surprise. What choice do I have? Give me 2 weeks. Let me try something. Try what? I don't know yet. But let me try. Adiz was staring at her. Didi, what are you thinking? I'm thinking we have a network now. I'm thinking we have people who believe in solving problems. I'm thinking, she took a deep breath. I'm thinking maybe it's time to see if all this work has been worth anything. The next morning, Chidinma called an emergency meeting at the tech hub. Ngozi, Ikena, Ifeoma, and several others gathered around. My father's business is about to collapse, Chidinma said without preamble. He needs 1.8 million naira in 2 weeks. I know it's crazy. I know we barely have a working prototype, but I want to try to raise it. How? Ngozi asked. Crowdfunding. We launch a campaign. We tell the story, not just about my father's business, but about what we're building. About how AgriConnect will help farmers like the ones my father works with. About how one family's crisis led to a solution that could help thousands. Ikena leaned back in his chair. It's risky. You're attaching your startup to your father's problems. That could damage your credibility. I know, but it could also make us real. Make us human. People don't invest in perfect business plans. They invest in stories they care about. And if it doesn't work, then my father loses his business, and I lose whatever credibility I might have had. But if I don't try, Chidinma's voice strengthened. If I don't try, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering if I could have helped and chose not to because I was scared of failing again. There was silence. Then Ifeoma spoke up. I'm in. Let's build a campaign page today. Get it live by tomorrow. I'll help with the video, Ngozi said. We'll need something emotional, authentic. I know a journalist who might write about it, someone else offered. And I'll reach out to some angel investors I know, Ikenna added. No promises, but I'll try. Chidinma felt tears streaming down her face. Why are you all helping me? You barely know me. Because that's what community means, Ikenna said simply. We rise together or we sink together. And right now we're choosing to rise. The next 72 hours were insane. They filmed a video of Chidinma telling her story, all of it. The 7 years of failure. The family disappointment. The moment she decided to try again. And now, her father's crisis. Adiz appeared in the video too, talking about her own fall from grace, and what she'd learned about the difference between appearing successful and actually being whole. We're not asking you to save us, Chidinma said to the camera, her voice steady despite her nerves. We're asking you to invest in a solution. AgriConnect isn't just about our family. It's about the thousands of farmers who get cheated every day. It's about the millions of Nigerians who can't afford fresh food. It's about building something that matters. And yes, right now we need help. But someday, we'll be the ones helping others. They launched the campaign on Thursday morning. By Thursday evening, they'd raised 50,000 naira. By Friday afternoon, 150,000. By Saturday night, 400,000. The journalist Ngozi New wrote a piece that went viral on Nigerian Twitter. From family disappointment to social entrepreneur, one woman's journey to redemption. It was shared thousands of times. Chief Okonkwo, the farmers' cooperative leader, donated 200,000 naira and challenged other agriculture stakeholders to match him. Local businesswomen started reaching out, sharing their own stories of failure and comeback. By Monday morning, they'd raised 1.2 million naira. Chidinma could barely believe it. She kept refreshing the campaign page, watching the number climb, watching strangers invest in a dream she'd almost given up on. But they still needed 600,000 more, and the deadline was looming. On Wednesday afternoon, with 4 days left, Chidinma got a phone call from an unknown number. Hello, is this Chidinma Okafor? A woman's voice, cultured and professional. Yes, my name is Mrs. Adeyemi. I'm a venture capitalist based in Lagos. I've been following your campaign with great interest. Chidinma's heart started racing. Oh, thank you for. I want to offer you an investment. 500,000 naira now, to help you meet your immediate goal. And potentially 5 million naira in seed funding for AgriConnect, subject to due diligence and terms we'd need to negotiate. Chidinma stopped breathing. 5 million. Your idea has merit. But more than that, you've demonstrated something I look for in entrepreneurs. The ability to mobilize community, to tell a compelling story, and to turn personal crisis into opportunity. Those skills are rare. I think you might actually succeed where others have failed. I don't know what to say. Say yes to the 500,000. That's easy. The 5 million, take time to think about it. Talk to your team. Understand what it means to take on an investor. I'll send you the term sheet by end of day. But Chidinma, whatever you decide about the future funding, I want you to know, what you've built in 3 weeks is remarkable. You should be proud. When Chidinma hung up, she was shaking so hard she had to sit down. Adiz rushed over, alarmed. What happened? Who was that? We did it. We actually did it. Chidinma started laughing and crying at the same time. We're going to save Papa's business. And someone wants to invest 5 million in AgriConnect. 5 million naira, Adiz. Adiz screamed. Then she started crying. Then they were both on the floor, holding each other, laughing and sobbing with relief and disbelief and hope. Ngozi, working nearby, came running over. When she heard the news, she joined the celebration. Soon, half the tech hub was celebrating with them, these strangers who'd become family. That evening, Chidinma and Adiz went home together. Their father was in his study as usual. They knocked on the door. Papa, can we talk to you? He looked up, and the resignation in his eyes broke Chidinma's heart. He thought they were coming to say goodbye, that they were leaving like so many others had left when he couldn't provide. Papa, we raised the money. He blinked. What? We raised 1.8 million naira. Actually, we raised 2.1 million. The extra is to help you restart after everything is cleared. Chidinma sat down across from him. The container is safe. Your business is safe. Their father stared at them in incomprehension. How? Where did you get? We crowdfunded it. Over 400 people contributed. Strangers. People who believed in what we're building. People who saw our story and wanted to help. I don't understand. Adiz pulled out her laptop and showed him the campaign page. The video. The comments from supporters. The article that had gone viral. Their father watched it all in silence, his expression unreadable. When the video ended, when he saw his daughters on screen, vulnerable and hopeful and brave, he closed the laptop very carefully. He removed his glasses. He covered his face with his hands. And then Chidimma's father, stern, proud, unbending Namdi Okafor, began to cry. "I'm sorry," he said through his tears. "I'm so sorry. I was wrong about you. I was wrong about everything. I thought strength meant never failing. I thought success meant meeting everyone's expectations. But you," he looked at his daughters through his tears. "You failed and got back up. You were broken and you healed. You were nothing and you became something. Not because of me. Despite me. Papa," Chidimma was crying too. "No, let me finish." He stood up and pulled them both into his arms, something he hadn't done since they were children. "I am proud of you, both of you. I don't understand what you're building or how you did this. But I am proud, and I am sorry I made you believe you had to be perfect to be worthy of love." They stood there, the three of them, crying together. And outside the study, their mother leaned against the wall, her own tears falling silently, a smile on her face. The port clearance took 3 days. When the container was finally released, their father opened it to find his goods intact. Fabrics from China, ready to be distributed to his network of retailers across Lagos. But something had changed. Instead of just selling the fabrics as he'd always done, he asked Chidimma and Adiz to help him think differently. "If you can build something new from nothing," he said, "maybe I can too. Maybe there's a better way to do this business." It became a family project. Obinna, studying engineering, suggested ways to optimize the supply chain. Amara, the youngest, had ideas about social media marketing that made their father's head spin. Their mother, who'd been a trader before marriage, offered insights into what customers actually wanted. And slowly, the Okafor family began to rebuild, not just the business, but something deeper. Trust, connection, the belief that they were stronger together than apart. 2 months later, AgriConnect launched its beta version. It wasn't perfect. There were bugs. The interface needed work. Some features didn't work as planned, but 10 farmers and 15 buyers signed up that first week. Real people, real transactions, real impact. Chief Okonkwo's cooperative became their first major partner. The farmers were skeptical at first, but when they saw money appearing in their mobile wallets faster than the middlemen had ever paid them, word spread. Mrs. Adeyemi's 5 million naira investment came through after weeks of negotiations. It wasn't as much as they'd hoped. She'd reduced it to 3 million based on their stage, but it was enough. Enough to hire 2 full-time developers. Enough to run proper marketing campaigns. Enough to dream bigger. Ifeoma joined as CTO. Ngozi came on as head of community. Adiz officially left her law firm to become COO, facing down the whispers and gossip with her head held high. And Chidimma, who'd been the family disappointment, who'd failed for 7 years straight, who'd almost given up entirely, became CEO of a real company with real employees and real investors and real potential. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. It was nothing like she'd imagined and everything she'd needed. 6 months after launch, on a humid Lagos evening, Chidimma stood in front of a room full of people at a startup showcase. She was presenting AgriConnect to potential investors and partners. Her hands were sweating. Her voice shook a little at first, but as she talked about the farmers they'd helped, like Mama Nkechi, who'd doubled her income in 3 months, or Uncle Chidi, who could finally afford his daughter's school fees, her voice grew stronger. AgriConnect isn't just an app, she said. It's a second chance. A second chance for farmers who've been exploited for generations. A second chance for families struggling to afford food. And a second chance for me, someone who thought her story was over before it really began. She paused, looking out at the audience. Her family was there, Papa in the front row, Mama beside him, her siblings scattered throughout the room. Ngozi was recording on her phone. Ikenna gave her an encouraging nod. I spent 7 years believing I was a failure, Chidimma continued. I let other people's disappointment define me. I let fear paralyze me. But then I learned something important. Failure isn't falling down. Failure is refusing to get back up. And success isn't never making mistakes. Success is making mistakes, learning from them, and having the courage to try again. The applause started before she'd even finished. It grew louder, rolling through the room like thunder. People stood. Her mother was crying. Her father was beaming with pride she'd never thought she'd see directed at her. And Chidinma, broken, restored, transformed Chidinma, finally understood that she'd never been a disappointment. She'd just been becoming. The rooftop restaurant overlooked Lagos at night, millions of lights sparkling in the humid darkness, the city breathing and alive and full of possibility. Adiz sat across from Chidinma, both of them exhausted after a long day of meetings. AgriConnect now had 500 farmers and 2,000 buyers on the platform. They'd raised a second round of funding. They'd been featured in CNN Africa. But more importantly, they'd helped farmers earn over 20 million naira in additional income. They'd made fresh produce affordable for hundreds of families. They'd proven that their idea, their dream, could work. "I saw Tabena yesterday," Adiz said suddenly. Chidinma looked up from her jollof rice. And we talked. Really talked. For the first time since everything fell apart. "He's doing well. Still painting," he said. Adiz smiled softly. "He said he's proud of me. For choosing myself instead of choosing him or Chikwudi. Are you going to see him again?" "Maybe. But not to restart what we had. To build something new. Something honest." She paused. "I'm not the same person I was a year ago. None of us are." They sat in comfortable silence, eating their food, watching Lagos spread out below them like a promise. "Didi," Adiz said finally. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not giving up. If you had given up, I would have too. I would still be pretending to be perfect, married to someone I didn't love, living a life that looked good but felt empty. You saved me by saving yourself." Chidinma felt tears prick her eyes. "We saved each other." "Yes, we did." Somewhere in the city below, Mama Nkechi was counting her earnings from the week's sales, enough to buy new shoes for her grandchildren. Chief Okonkwo was telling other cooperatives about the app that had changed his farmers' lives. A young woman was downloading AgriConnect for the first time, hoping it might solve her family's struggle to afford food. And in the Okafor compound, Nambi Okafor was telling his son about his daughter's business, his voice filled with pride instead of shame, his heart finally at peace with the unexpected paths his children had taken. The story wasn't perfect. There were still challenges ahead, cash flow problems, difficult investors, technological hurdles. Some days, Chidinma still woke up afraid, still felt the echo of those 7 years of failure. But now she knew something she hadn't known before. She was stronger than her fear. She was more than her failures. And she was exactly who she needed to be, not despite her journey, but because of it. "To second chances," Adiz said, raising her glass of Chapman. "To becoming," Chidinma replied, clinking her glass against her sister's. And somewhere in the Lagos night, a cursor blinked on a laptop screen, waiting for the next person brave enough to type their dreams into existence. Chidinma's story teaches us something profound. Your past failures don't define your future success. Your courage to try again does. For 7 years, Chidinma let other people's opinions become her identity. She believed she was a disappointment because that's what people called her. She stopped trying because she'd failed so many times. She accepted defeat as permanent. But transformation began the moment she made one simple choice: to try one more time. Here are the powerful lessons from this journey. Failure is not your identity. You are not your mistakes. You are not your setbacks. You are not the sum of your disappointments. You are a person with unlimited potential for growth, change, and transformation. Community amplifies courage. Chidinma didn't succeed alone. She found Ngozi, who believed in her, Ikena, who guided her, Ifioma, who built with her, a whole community that lifted her up. Don't try to carry your dreams alone. Find your people and rise together. Pain can become purpose. The same struggle that almost destroyed Chidinma became the foundation of her success. Her understanding of failure made her empathetic. Her years of suffering made her resilient. Your pain is not wasted. It's preparing you for something greater. Comparison is the thief of joy. Adiz looked perfect on the outside, but was dying inside, trying to meet impossible standards. Chidinma looked broken, but was learning lessons that would change her life. Stop comparing your behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. Start before you're ready. Chidinma didn't wait until she had all the answers. She started with 50,000 naira, an old laptop, and a dream she'd buried for 6 years. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Start messy. Start scared. Just start. Your family's disappointment doesn't determine your destiny. Maybe your parents don't understand your dreams. Maybe your siblings are more successful than you. Maybe everyone has written you off. So what? Your story isn't over until you say it is. Their lack of vision for your life doesn't limit what's possible for you. Rock bottom can be your foundation. Chidinma's lowest point, sitting outside her sister's engagement party, feeling worthless, became the turning point. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to find the solid ground you'll build your future on. Success looks different for everyone. AgriConnect didn't become the next billion-dollar unicorn. It became something better, a sustainable business that genuinely helps people. Define success on your own terms, not society's. Remember, the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more brave people, people willing to fail, learn, and try again. People like Chidinma, people like you. What happens next? But this isn't the end of Chidinma's story. It's only the beginning. In the next chapter, you'll discover what happens when a major investor tries to force Chidinma out of her own company. The shocking secret about her father's business that threatens everything. Adi's dangerous confrontation with Chikwuti's family. The moment Chidinma must choose between her dream and her family. How a betrayal from within the team nearly destroys AgriConnect. And the decision that will define the rest of Chidinma's life. The question is, will you be there when the next chapter unfolds? Your decision moment. Right now, you're at your own crossroads. Just like Chidinma was sitting on those steps outside her sister's party. You can close this video and forget about this story. Forget about Chidinma's courage, about the possibility of transformation, about the hope that failure isn't final. Or you can make a different choice. Hit that like button if Chidinma's story resonated with you. If you've ever felt like a disappointment, if you've ever wanted to give up, if you're still searching for the courage to try again, your like tells me this story mattered. It tells other people searching for hope that they should watch this. It's a small action with massive impact. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Chidinma's journey continues, and trust me, you won't want to miss the plot twists, the heartbreaks, the victories, and the lessons still to come. Plus, I'll be sharing more true Nigerian stories of people who transformed their lives against impossible odds. Comment below and tell me, have you ever felt like your family's disappointment? What dream have you buried that might need to be resurrected? What spoke to you most in Chidinma's story? Your comment might be the encouragement someone else needs to keep going. Your story might inspire the next person who watches. And honestly, I want to hear from you. I want to know this story touched you. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Share it with a friend who's given up on their dreams. Share it with the family member who thinks they've failed too many times. Share it with anyone who needs to be reminded that their story isn't over. Because here's the truth. Chidinma's story is powerful, but your story is too. Every single person watching this has a journey. You have battles you're fighting. You have dreams you're afraid to pursue. You have failures that haunt you. But you also have potential you haven't tapped into yet. This is your moment. Your cursor is blinking. Your new chapter is waiting. Will you choose to try again? Will you choose to believe in possibility? Will you choose to become who you were meant to be? Like, subscribe, share, and comment right now. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Let's build a community of people who refuse to stay down, who lift each other up, who believe that transformation is always possible. I'll see you in the next chapter of Chidinma's story. And maybe, just maybe, you'll see yourself in it too. The story continues. Will you be there? Thank you for spending this time with Chidinma, Adiz, and the Okafor family. Thank you for believing that second chances matter. Thank you for being part of this community. Now go, like, subscribe, share, and most importantly, go chase your own dreams with the courage Chidinma found. Your transformation starts today, right now, with one brave decision. What will you choose?